Hello,
Oh, hello.
I'm Sammy,
And I'm Steve.
and you're listening to Rose Plate Special, the most dramatic, Tahitiingest, no funny businessingest, Joan costumingest recap podcast of the Golden Bachelorette ever.
Ever. That was quite the mouthful.
Thank you. And if I'm frozen again, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm building a new computer, and everything's gonna get better. But it will probably be after the finale. We'll see. Maybe on the last episode you'll get like an extra nice looking thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And
We'll
guess
see.
what, viewers and listeners? I'll always be garbage. Don't worry.
I'm just gonna keep getting like iteratively better until it's like movie quality, and then Steve's gonna look like like an iPhone, like the first iPhone.
First
It's gonna
iPhone.
look like
Yes.
first
I
iPhone.
am a pixelated Game Boy camera from 1997.
Oh, that's exciting. I love that. It's funny. So like I just bought a bunch of computer parts from Micro Center, and they were like they're like, "Oh, what do you like, oh, this is exciting." Like they were complimenting my choices except for one, which is fine. But I didn't pick one of the choices for a specific reason. It's fine. But they were like, "Ooh, this is really, I'm kind of jealous of this build. I think it's a really good build." And then Tuck goes, "Yep, she's gonna be playing a lot of Frogger on that thing."
That's it. That's all you
And
play.
I was like, I like a lot of platformers from the 90s, and I just really wanted to make sure I had a machine that did it very right.
That makes sense. Well,
yeah.
and the cool thing about Frogger is you can play the original, or you can play the weird, like mid to late 90s PlayStation remake, which I'm a big fan of. Because there was a brief period where Atari, I think, was really bottoming out. And they're like, the only solution is to do modern updates of old games from the 80s. And they thought that like Frogger was going to take them to the next level in the era where like Mario 64 already existed, which is incredible hubris or sadness, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, that is kind of incredible sadness, I guess. I just remember when I remember the first time I saw Donkey Kong Country, and I was like, how is it ever going to get better than this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way.
I was so hyped for that when I was a kid because I had a subscription to Nintendo Power magazine.
Oh,
and
nice.
Every once in a while, they would send out something special to you. And for the reveal of Donkey Kong Country, you got a VHS tape in the mail and you pop it in, and it was like footage and development stuff. I'm sure it exists somewhere on YouTube, but as a small child, I watched that until the tape literally disintegrated. So,
wow. I have a friend who probably knows exactly that video and has a copy of it, and that's B-SNES. I'm gonna just plug B-SNES really quick. So B-SNES is a talking Super Nintendo. It's a boy trapped in the body of a Super Nintendo. And so B-SNES plays as like a talking Super Nintendo puppet, and has like sprite nights, a lot of Saturdays where they'll play like old stuff from like Nintendo Power magazine and like old ads and things like that, and old reviews and whatever. So so check that out, B-SNES. I'll try to remember to plug in the description. I'm gonna write that down before I forget. But yeah, so anyway, if I'm a little scattered today, that's just the kind of week I'm having. I don't know what to tell you. Everybody in the world wanted something from me. And also,
it's not my fault though.
No, it's not your fault. You're trying to be the least stressful part of my week, you said. And I agree. But like everybody wants everything from me right now. And I've got like, it's midterm kind of ish time. And like everything's due right now. Plus we had to deal with trick-or-treaters, which we go all out, we do the costumes, we do the lights, we do the sound, we do the.
And don't forget the lingering specter of election anxiety. That's always a fun one. Just kind of ambiently making me uncomfortable. Yeah, it's great. I love it.
I don't feel stressed about it
no.
at all. So I don't know why you're worried about it. Yeah, so that's fun. And also it was Diwali, and I was doing like ceremonies with my teacher, and I was and then at trick or treat, we had a tween ghost face come around and try to stab me multiple times. Ooh. So I had to keep going. Oh, like I told you that you could have as much candy as you want. And then, she'd come around and just try to. So it was good times. So anyway, that's the kind of week I've been having. And so we're going to try to get this wrapped up really quickly, but I will do a quick promo. If you're watching this, you know where to find us in one place, but make sure you check out Pop Culture Diner on TikTok and Pop Culture Diner on the internet and on wherever podcasts are. And if you feel so inclined, just send us a really nice review and tell us how great we are. We constantly seek validation, so that would be nice. I just dropped another Topo Chico.
Topo down.
I just dropped it all over my phone.
Oh no.
I'm too emphatic on this podcast.
It's okay.
And on my notes, my precious notes.
This is classic. I love this. But go check out our TikTok so you can see my anti-Chicago rage bait.
It's so funny. Okay, no, I feel like we should mention this.
I want everyone to know my hatred is pure. Like when I say I don't like Chicago cuisine, I genuinely mean it. This is not meant to incite anything. I feel like I laid out my specific reasons very meticulously. This is my passion of
oh my
disdain.
Gosh, I got on my mouse too, you guys. This is really bad. It's everywhere. So anyway, I'm gonna try to clean this up while we talk. But yeah, I wanted to make a point of saying the hate for Chicago. Someone on TikTok said this is clearly rage bait, and I responded from my own profile and I said we are Wisconsinites. It's definitely not rage bait.
No,
we just feel that way.
We just feel that way.
We're from Wisconsin. So I just wanted you to know that it's not rage bait at all. But yeah. So anyway, okay. So let's move into this. We're gonna move really fast, and so you won't have to put me on 2x speed today, if you ever have to do that. I don't think anyone ever does that for me. I'm gonna be really honest with you. So this is kind of an interesting episode because it's that in between. We're trying to figure things out. We go from 3 to still 3, but there's some uncertainty in the air. What's going to happen? Who's going to make a decision? How does Joan feel? And all of that stuff. And so do we want to just kind of go through each date? And kind of talk about it? Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I guess we went from 3 to 2 kind of, but I don't know. My conspiracy theory mind says this is the last we've seen of Pascal.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know. That's what I think. All right. So what do you think? Tell us what you're thinking about the first date. Let's cover Guy first.
Okay.
Let's try to dry this up with a blanket.
Let's cover Guy. This is really, we're kind of into a no-win situation. I feel like Pascal is great, but I've been saying since week 1, he's here for a good time, not a long time. He actually stuck around longer than I thought, but we're going to get into why.
He stuck around longer than he thought. I mean, he said that, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've got Chock, and I am people have been calling me a CCH, certified Chock hater, and why
are you certified Chock hater?
There's something in the back of my head. Maybe it's the, come on down and meet the fam date at a funeral thing that he did, or there's just all this stuff where nothing about it isolated is necessarily bad or a big red flag. But if I look at Chock holistically and I look at the things that have been laid out in front of me as one clear picture, the mosaic comes together for me and it says no Chock. All right.
Wow.
And then we've got Guy, and Guy has been on a bit of a reverse Chock trajectory, but then a little bump in the road on the way. But basically, I didn't like him initially just because he seemed a little slick for my taste. And it's not his fault. You look at the guy and you're like, oh yeah, he's a doctor in Las Vegas. Of course he is. And he's got one of those incredibly handsome faces you just want to punch because it's too handsome. He's got a jawline you could crack a diamond with, which is, for me, is deeply upsetting. But no, he really proved himself, especially when he would kind of go out of his way to do little nice things that clearly weren't for TV or internet clout. The bump along the way, of course, there was some sort of revelation that he had a restraining order taken out on him at some point. Although when further details of that emerge, I don't know. It's messy. I can't pass full judgment.
I'm not going to fault him for that. I think it's more of a misunderstanding, and like divorces are messy than anything. At least that's what we've seen. Who knows?
Yes.
We weren't there, but that's what I would read it as.
Yeah. So basically what we're set up with Guy is a great guy, and almost anyone would jump on the chance to be with him. But is he Joan's guy? And that's the question we have to ask. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think so, unfortunately.
yeah. I mean, I think Guy is great on paper. And I think he would be a catch for a lot of women. Um, I mean, yeah, it's like he's got Lake Tahoe money, okay? And I love that they're like, we're gonna go on 2 boating dates in a row.
Yes, of
It's like this
course.
is just Guy's, thing.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, he definitely did some really standout things in the house that set him apart as someone where it's like, I'm not just like somebody who has a really good job and money, like I am thoughtful and it sounds like he's one of the most well-liked guys in the house. Him and Pascal are both like
Yeah.
very well-liked in the house. And it seemed like, yeah, he didn't have any like adversaries, he
No.
just seemed to kind of like go with the flow and like, I can be kind of harsh about doctors sometimes, like being like, all right, hurry up, 15 minutes, like whatever. And he obviously has like good bedside manner and a lot of empathy. Like what he showed
Hmm.
Charles, I think is really like I would assume that extends to the work he does as an ER doctor. And that's
Yeah.
very admirable. So, and he had a good hometown date. He had a good fantasy suite date. And, Joan kind of threw the men for a loop by saying, listen, we're going to go in these fantasy suites, but no hanky panky,
Yeah, which
you
is
know?
revealed because well,
Yeah.
I don't know when they were each, when they each took place in real life, but
Right.
Guys is the first, and she kind of lays this out. She's like, listen, I don't want to bang 3 dudes. I'm just going to bang
Mm-hmm.
one dude. It's going to be the final dude that I'm going to bang. So we're not going to
Mm-hmm.
bang. And he's like, cool, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
whatever, which
He
is
was
great.
like, he's like, that makes such a lot of sense to me. And I really appreciate you saying that and doing
Yeah.
that. And I think that's cool.
Personally,
And he's,
Joan,
yeah.
I would have kicked the tires on all 3 of those
I
Cadillacs,
mean,
but that's
yeah.
just me. That's
But that's her choice,
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean, all to their credit, they were all like cool with it and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what Joan says about Guy is she thinks like he kind of fell first, like he's more into her than she's into him. And
Yes,
I
which
think
is
that
very evident.
yeah, I think that's what reveals, yeah, like where, like what his fate is going to be.
Mhm.
And she was like, I could see a life with him. I mean, and it's like, yeah, because that life would be pretty cool,
Yeah.
like, and he's probably like close to retirement. So,
Mhm.
then it's like you can spend more time together and go on more adventures and stuff. Like
Totally.
that's a taxing job. I'm sure he doesn't want to do it for too much longer. I mean, I can't speak
Yeah.
for him, but I would just assume. And so, it's like, yeah, that's like a very easy life to fold into, I would say. But yeah, I haven't really felt like that much in terms of like chemistry between the two
No.
of them. It's like, yeah, he's a good time and he's really nice. And so he's easy to
Yeah.
hang out with and he's just easy to be around. And, and she thinks he's good looking. I mean, I think he's, yeah, good looking. So like easy on the eyes. Like it's just
Mhm.
kind of like, yeah, this is good. But yeah, it's just like there isn't that like, we're not seeing that like it
No.
factor, that
The
spark
the
between
sparks
the
aren't
two of
flying,
them.
which is
So
wild
yeah.
to me. Just because it seems like at the very least, and you see this frequently on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, where they don't have chemistry on that kind of like real like deeper level, but
Mm-hmm.
the physical chemistry is very obvious. And I'm surprised that even that physical element doesn't seem to be completely there. But I agree. If we look at all 3 men, you've got Guy, and this nice. It's a nice date.
Mm-hmm.
Catamaran, I think that they're on one of those boat things. Some snorkeling,
Sure. I'm not,
some
that's out of
fish.
my pay grade.
I don't know.
That's out of my tax bracket.
Yeah, I can't. I would never. I mean, I would,
Yeah.
but I'm not paying
Oh, I
for
sure would. Yeah. Yeah.
it. But anyways, he's definitely more into her than she's into him. Although she's still, obviously he's here. He's top 3. He's doing okay. And then on the Pascal side of things, she is obviously into Pascal more than Pascal is into her. And then you've got Chock, and that's where they just kind of align, where they're
Yeah.
both on the same level. And that's why he has been, and I think going into the final episodes will be the obvious choice here.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm still kind of, I don't know. There's still a part of me that thinks there's going to be some kind of surprise twist, or I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong.
Yeah.
Because I've been wrong before where it's like, and it is just very straightforward, and you know, it's like JoJo and Jordan, where it's just like it's obvious until the end, and then now they've been together for however long, like long time now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, okay, so let's talk about, so I was kind of surprised that the Chock date was in the middle. That surprised me, because usually date number 2 is like the person that, well, I mean, you know, statistically it's like the person that is least likely to win. But I mean, everything goes well. It's like, it's again, very easy date. Chock lays out his intentions. He's been very consistent. And I wanted to issue a correction and offer an update on the video that his daughter posted. Those two things. Number 1, I'm very sorry, everyone. Please stop yelling at me. I said Ilana Mar instead of Ilona, and now I'm worried I've got her last name wrong. But I know her first name is Ilona. It's pronounced Ilona. So I'm so sorry. She's been amazing. Her and Alan on Dancing with the Stars. I've never watched an episode. I just watch clips, but their TikTok is unbeatable. And Jen and Sasha just got eliminated this week, which is very heartbreaking. And but they're still hanging out, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. And Joey's just kicking ass. So that's your quick Dancing with the Stars update. And then with Chock's daughter, so she posted a video basically just being like, I don't understand all the hate for my dad. Same. I mean, I just didn't really like vibe with him in the first few episodes, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything objectionable about him. And, you know, she was like, I just want to be very clear that this was not a funeral. Like, we had a funeral. This was just a memorialization. This was just like an honorary tree planting that we did on, you know, like a family friend's ranch. And that's what we invited Joan to. Like, let's put this in perspective.
Stop saying that he took her on a date to a funeral.
Yeah, it's just like that's not what it was. So I just wanted to issue those corrections.
Yeah.
And also say, I also agree. I don't really get like to me saying someone's not my cup of tea. It's like not everyone's going to be everybody's cup of tea, right? Some people don't even like tea, but like to be like, oh, what a piece of shit. It's like, that's like, that takes a level of animosity that I really I reserve for few people in my real life and on television, you know?
Well, and this is the unfortunate nature of what we do here, which is we are taking petty shots at fictionalized versions of real life dream daddies, but there's really... You know, there's nothing we could really say here.
One of my fave games. Yeah. But yeah, like, I mean, yeah, it's never that serious and it's never that deep. No. And to just like issue like a hot take, you know, that you know is based on such a limited window of time versus like sending like threats, you know, it's like, come on. That's unnecessary. What the hell is I know we've said this before, but I just think it bears constant repeating, because it's just like we are not the same. Okay, we are making little jokey jokes, but like cool it with the bringing things to in real life, doxing people and like, you know, whatever. Like, of course I will look at your LinkedIn, okay? But I'm not going to tell people where to find it. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, I mean, I think the date goes well. Again, like Chock has no issue with you know, the rules that Joan sent out. But let me ask you a question. What do you think happened in the fantasy suite?
Okay, this is what I don't like. This is the thing. When I'm talking about the mosaic tiles, that I don't know if this is just in the edit, if it's a producer thing, because this has been such a wholesome, conflict-free season of anything Bachelor related. So it just wondered, like, am I falling for the trap? Of course I am. They're just sowing the seeds of doubt.
It's a trap. Yeah.
But I don't like his answer to this, because guys like, whatever, yeah, that's fine. That makes perfect sense. And then of course they use a Chock individual interview and they ask him clearly, point blank, like, hey, you know, what happened in the fantasy suite? And he could have just been like, oh, we just talked about life and family and values and just like all this incredible stuff that we don't get to talk about on the dates. And we really got to know each other at like a deeper level.
Which is like what Guy said. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is because hopefully that's what happened. But the way that he phrases it, where he's just like, well, I don't want to talk about that, but you could ask Joan and maybe she'll tell you. It's like, bro, shut up. Shut the fuck up.
You
Don't
really
fucking
don't
say
like him.
that.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
I just don't like that answer. And honestly, they could have just stayed up all night playing Uno. I don't care what you did.
Right.
But like, don't phrase it in a way where you're like, maybe I banged her, maybe I didn't. Huh? Like, come on, dude.
I feel like that had to have been like a producer fed way of
Yes.
saying it.
Oh, yeah, of course. And
I bet they asked a question like, well, yeah, like, do you like, can you tell us what you like about the fantasy suites? So, maybe something about how like, what goes on in there is private. And then he's like, what I like about the fantasy suites is that everything that goes on there is between us. And I think that's really special. I think that's really special. But I mean, there's another read for that where it's like, well, and she was like, you know what, it's gonna be you. So so like if you want to, like, but I'm gonna say this, but I don't think so. I don't think that that's I don't think that that's how that went down. I think his answer was misleading, but I would assume that that was a production direction. To me, that's what
but
it
it's the
felt
same
like.
kind of
I was
swerve
like,
as the
that's
funeral.
so skeezy. Yeah.
I
I was just
know.
like, that's
the same.
weird.
This is another thing. It's, it wasn't a funeral. It was a tree planting celebration of life on a
They
friend's
never
ranch.
said funeral. Like,
I know, but
didn't
it was
read
just
it
so
as a funeral.
funeral-y. I don't know.
I didn't read it as a funeral. I read it as like a memorialization, a celebration of life. So that's what I interpreted it as from the beginning, just for the record.
My rule is, if I am just getting romantically involved with someone, no death adjacent things for at least the first month. Let's go there.
No death adjacent things for the. I mean, I think that's like a fair rule. I don't
know.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that just seemed like something producers asked him to say. And that's what I'll say. I mean, but like we've covered in like Bachelor Nation and all of that, it's like producers will edit your words the way that they want to, but you are still in charge of what you say. And you can always say, no, I'm not saying that. Like that's always on the table. You might get less airtime. Whatever. They might choose something else that you didn't like as much. So maybe you recorded it a few times and they're like, well, just give us a version that says this. And you don't want to say it. And then they'll run with that version. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's some former contestants who have said things like, yeah, I'll just say the packaged thing that they want me to say, even though it's like a cringy pun or it's not 100% like how I feel, because I know that they needed a thing to get them from here to here, and I'm willing to play ball, and I don't really care how it makes me look and whatever. But it's like, especially with this older crowd who might not be cognizant of the way that like producers can like craft a story, I think they do need to be mindful of like, anything that comes out of your mouth could be used. It's like, like I was just watching, and we'll do a one-off of this once we get through this show, but I was watching like the Love is Blind, like reunion, and no spoilers, but one of the contestants said something like, I was really hoping they weren't going to show like the reveal out of the pods. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to assume that they will show everything. That they're going to show every second, because you never know what they're going to pick. And especially if something was like awkward, uncomfortable, controversial, caused some extreme emotion, chances are they're going to show that because that's good TV. So anyway, so I assume that like he said a few versions of that and they picked that one. But we'll who knows. Okay, so anyway, so now we get to the date with Pascal. And like things are going fairly well, but then they're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to raise the stakes on this guy that's like not totally sure. And we're going to create an extremely emotional bonding ceremony between the two of you. I'm like,
this is very manipulative. And
that
I was like,
so
dying.
manipulative.
I was like,
that's diabolical.
He was like trying to do his best, but you could see it in his eyes. He's like, this sucks.
Yeah. He was like, I just want Joan to have a good time. Like, I want it to be like, good, easy breezy day. No problems.
He was just stoked because he was in Tahiti and everyone was like speaking French. He's like,
I can explain what chicken is. It's very cool, and like, he's like, all right, this is cool. This is fun. And then they're like, okay, go out into the ocean and speak out your deepest, darkest fears. And we're going to bond you together. And he's like, oh, okay, this is kind of a lot, and
like a buddy bond, like a good old friend bond, like
yeah, and Joan's like, like she's pouring her heart out, which is like what you're supposed to do in a ceremony like this. She's just doing the thing she's supposed to do, but he's like, oh God, this is a lot. This is a lot.
Oh, and what she said, yes.
And
that is good.
So, also, I think it's really interesting that he barely spoke French with Jesse. Don't you think that's interesting?
That is interesting. Well, I mean, watch, we're going to see the bloopers next week, and it's going to be all them French. Just talking French back and forth.
Yeah, because I'm like, Jesse loves being able to pull that out of his pocket. So
oh my God, that's his favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is interesting. Anyway, interesting decision. But yeah, so, they have their little talk, and like, Pascal's like, I was with a woman and we were engaged, and like I loved her, and then it didn't work out, and I was so heartbroken, and you know what, I thought I was ready, and honestly he's being so open and vulnerable.
Yeah, it's great.
This could make him not look good, and it's like, whatever, this is just my truth, this is just my reality, and I'm realizing I'm not ready. I thought I was, and I'm not, and now I'm scared. Like, kudos, for admitting that, and not turning it into there's something wrong with Joan, or he's just like, this isn't working for me, and I just don't think I thought I was in the right headspace, and now this is becoming very real, and it's scaring the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. And so like the date itself goes okay. I mean, he's stressed out, but it goes okay. But then we get to dinner, and he's basically says the same thing to Joan, and he's just like, and his story was consistent too between Jesse and Joan, which I appreciate. And, he was basically like, I love you as a friend. Mm-hmm. But I don't, and Joan was kind of like, and she's like flexible and kind of willing to play ball. And it's like, do you think you're never going to get there, or you're just not going to get there like right now? Cause like, I'm kind of open to either. So I'm like, oh gosh, is Pascal her first choice? Like,
yeah, because she's like, can I have a soft maybe? Because I would take a soft maybe.
Yeah, she's like, like a soft commit. And so she's just like, like, can I circle back in 6 months and see if you're interested in this offer that I'm providing you? And he's just kind of like, I don't know. He didn't say like, I'll never be ready. At least that's not what I heard. But it was just kind of like, I don't know. But right now, this is like a lot,
Perhaps you could be a mon ami with benefits, huh?
Yeah. But he was just like, he's like, we have a great time together, and I think it is kind of scary when you're in a situation where you're like, I'm not totally ready, and the other person is like, you remind me of my dead husband. That's like a lot. That's like a lot of pressure,
That is. It's a lot of pressure. And I think, I mean, everybody can probably relate to that. Like the chance of you getting into a new relationship and like having any sort of like immediate balance in how you feel about each other is like 1 in a million. And sometimes somebody's feelings will rocket up and yours will stay kind of low or mid or neutral or whatever. And then they're just like, I want to spend my life with you. And you're like, I don't even want to go to Burger King with you right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's like the beginning of relationships, and it could be like everything's really exciting in the beginning, and then reality hits, and then you got to navigate that and whatever. But when you're in like a normal timeline, you can have those ebbs and flows, and you can navigate it, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but it's not like you have to figure that out today. It's like, okay, well, let's kind of like let's think about it, let's take a week, whatever, which is like a totally normal life thing. But yeah, this is like, okay, and I understand why Joan said that stuff too, because it's like the biggest compliments she gives are like, Guy is really into me, and that's great. And and Chock makes me feel safe and seen, and that's like a very like sturdy, stable, feeling that she has. And Pascal reminds me of, my late husband, because he did everything big and Pascal does everything big. But I also think there was some interesting foreshadowing for that conversation. Now, of course, we don't see the whole thing. We see the edited, curated version of it. And it could be painting Joan in an ungenerous light. But the other thing Pascal was opening up to Jesse about was like, that's not all me. Like the fancy cars and the fast life and all. He's like, he's like, I had a fucked up childhood. You know, I come from this background and it was difficult. And I don't think people like see me for like, you know, who I am fully. And I want to be seen in that same way. And so Joan leading with that, at least in the edited conversation we see, I think was like another thing where it's like, okay, well, maybe it's easier to walk away if you're not seeing the whole me. Maybe then, you know, maybe then we're not connected at that point, or you're just like, you didn't see the way I was with the men in the house and why I was like the most well-liked guy in the house. You just still see big life, big, you know, nice cars, money, you know, whatever. So that could be another, who knows, but that could be another factor. But then it's like I think Pascal did like the best breakup ever in Bachelor Nation.
Oh my gosh,
history,
it was great. Yeah.
Because he was really thoughtful. He was really kind. He was thinking about her feelings. And she's going, it's okay. It's fine. It's okay. And he's like, why is she comforting me and telling me that it's okay and it's fine when like it's obviously not. And even he's like, you know, he does. It felt very French when he waved away the cameras.
Oh yeah,
but
that was good. I like that. That was a nice
get
touch.
away. Get out of here. But he's like comforting her, and he's like, no, I feel like garbage because it's not fun to do this to somebody, and it's not great, and it's not like we left on a cliffhanger. But I do think, I don't know, maybe there's more to the story. Who's to say? Let's end with predictions. We'll wrap up this tight episode, and then we'll get the men tell all next week, which I'm really excited about. I think it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
I think personally she's gonna have a bit of a little bit of Pascal shock, a little emotional shock, and she's gonna go through one of those like, well, what am I even doing here? Or maybe this isn't right for me, which we see this pretty frequently. Because I mean, this whole thing is very high stress, and then you get to this point and you can see the finish line, but you're at your like highest stress level, and then one guy throws this curveball at you. It's just emotional roller coaster. So I think she's going to have a little bit of a breakdown, got to gather herself up, and then she's hitching her wagon to the old Chock pony. That's what I believe. Straight on down to Wichita.
Yeah, I think that's the most like rational answer. But I mean, we saw Pascal's costume this year. He dressed up as Joan for Halloween.
Mwah.
I think he's really
Très
fun.
magnifique. I loved it.
Listen, Pascal for Golden Bachelor. Yeah, either him or Jonathan, I think would be great. Who else did we have? We had another person that we thought would be good for Golden Bachelor. Now I'm forgetting. As long as it's not Mark.
The thing is there's like so many good people.
There's a lot of good choices. I mean, I think Charles, if I'm dreaming, like that would be great. There's so many good choices. We need Golden Bachelor in Paradise. I know I keep saying that, but like we need it. Like I need it to feel okay.
Please, like put these beautiful old people on a nice Caribbean, like Holland America cruise and just let them vibe out.
Yeah, it would be a dream come true. But until then, listen, everyone, take care of yourselves. We'll see you on the other side of what will, regardless, be a very interesting Tuesday. So take care of yourselves. Take breaks. Engage in, whatever self-care you need, whether that's, going to a movie to distract yourself, meditating, taking a nice walk, journaling,
But don't do needle drugs. That's not a distraction. That's you playing chicken with Death himself in a go-kart with scythes sticking out of the side.
Consider binging our episode.
Yeah, why not listen to
nice
podcasts?
Company.
Particularly this podcast.
Listen to our podcast. What's the other podcast?
It's the only one that matters. The rest are garbage.
I'm trying to turn the music off, and it won't turn off.
We just keep going forever.
A window got in the way. I was like, oh, well, I guess we'll just keep going. Okay, bye.